What's going on, guys? The 2023 Canadian Grand Prix is coming up this weekend, and we are here to make our predictions for what's going to happen this race weekend. If you're new here, we make a prediction before, and then we review each race weekend after it's all said and done, and we try and have a lot of fun in the process. We try and make at least a little bit of out there predictions while also trying to score some points along the way. But for now, let's go ahead. Let's jump into this weekend's predictions for the Canadian Grand Prix. For our predictions, we have a few of the following. We have our biggest positive surprise, our biggest disappointment. We have our qualifying top three, our race finish podium top three, as well as our, of course, it's this channel, our Haas predictions for the race weekend. We start now with our biggest positive surprise. And for me, I have gone for Alex Albon. This is a 100% just total vibes pick. Williams is bringing some upgrades to Canada, and I feel like we're just due for one of those banger Alex Albon performances where he puts that Williams nowhere near where it realistically should be. And I think we're in for a worldie here for Alex Albon in that Williams, and I think he's going to perform pretty well around Canada. And if you're new here and this is your first predictions video, I also like to get my chat involved and the members of my Discord. I give them an opportunity to make their predictions as well. And for them, they have gone for Mercedes as their biggest positive surprise. Mercedes obviously showed a lot of pace in Spain, and they think that they are going to make another step forward, and potentially they use the words "gonna win" in Canada to start their redemption, their crawl back to the top of F1. High praise and high hopes for Mercedes fans going around Canada. We move on now to our biggest disappointment prediction. For me, I have gone for a not strictly race prediction, but it'll be extremely disappointing for some of us. We've all seen the weather forecasts for this weekend as it being very rainy all weekend long. And while I don't think it will rain all weekend long, I think after what we've seen the last few rounds, where it's been threatening with some rainy races and some potential disappointment in a full race-long rain, that is exactly my prediction. My biggest disappointment is that it is going to rain for the entirety of the Canadian Grand Prix. And as for my chat, they have gone with a big shocker. Now, if you thought their biggest positive surprise was a out there pick, and they have gone for Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen is their biggest disappointment for the Canadian Grand Prix. They think that Max is going to dominate all weekend, but when it comes to race day, something is going to happen, and Max is going to be in a bit of trouble. We're moving right along, right to Saturday, quali day, and here are my predictions for the top three qualifiers this weekend. In P3, I have gone for Lewis Hamilton. I think Mercedes has taken a step forward, and while it may not be quite that, race winning or, pole position taking pace, I think it is definitely a platform that Lewis is a lot more comfortable in. He's always enjoyed Canada and performed well there, and I think he's going to put it P3 in qualifying on Saturday. For P2, also has a history of performing pretty well in Canada, not but just a year ago he put it on the front row. That's right, P2 in qualifying, Fernando Alonso. He put an Alpine on the front row last season when it really didn't seem like Alpine should be on quite that pace, and I think he'll do it again, especially after a relatively disappointing Spanish Grand Prix weekend last time out. I think he'll come in and put in a P2, but it'll be not enough to catch pole position. My pick for pole position, I mean, at this point, I'm going to pick him until it doesn't happen. Max Verstappen is going to take pole position. In my opinion, I mean, the dude is just on another level right now. And like I said, until he proves me wrong, I can't not pick him for my pole position prediction. And then as for my chat, they have gone relatively similar, but they have swapped Fernando and Lewis. I mean, they think it's going to be relatively close between the two, but they have gone for a Fernando Alonso P3, a Lewis Hamilton P2, and a Max Verstappen pole position. And we'll get to see, and they think that we'll get to see Hamilton and Verstappen battle it out going into turn one here in Canada. Of course, qualifying would be nothing without the race itself. My race predictions for the podium this weekend in Canada will go as this. P3, an absolute stinker last time out in Spain. I think the redemption day has come. Charles Leclerc on the podium for Ferrari, not but a weekend removed when their manufacturer wins Le Mans. Ferrari back on the podium again here in Canada. I think Charles is due, also similar to Albon, just due for a good race weekend, and I'm hoping and praying that we'll get a little more excitement, a little more variety in our race results. But that will be all I think Charles gets, as P2, the second step of the podium, will be occupied by Lewis Hamilton. Like I said, Lewis always seems to perform well around Canada, got his first win in Canada, and even last year did pretty well, putting in a very good race and a pretty uncompetitive Mercedes last season. And so the second step of the podium, Lewis Hamilton, it's all for you. Of course, again, I mentioned it during my qualifying prediction. I cannot and will not pick someone else until it happens. Max Verstappen, I have predicted to win the Canadian Grand Prix. And trust me, I want it to be wrong. But at this point, I just can't, in good conscience, predict anything else. And I know that's disappointing. But at this point, what can you really blame me? And then for my chats, they have gone for a bit of a wild card race. Obviously, their biggest disappointment was Max Verstappen, and so that is reflected here in the podium predictions for P3. They have also gone Charles Leclerc. You know, they believe in the same thing. Charles is due for a good race, and at this point, they think it's going to be a little crazy. So Charles Leclerc on the podium in Canada. P2, Fernando Alonso. I mean, what are we really talking about? Fernando always seems to finish P2 in these things, and this will be no different. It finishes on the podium, rather. This will be no different. P2 for Fernando Alonso. And the winner in Canada, as predicted by my chat, Lewis Hamilton, getting his first race win in hundreds and hundreds of days. The first time on the top step of the podium in quite a long time. He predicts Lewis Hamilton to win the Canadian Grand Prix. Our final prediction, the Haas prediction of the race weekend. I'm going to breeze through this, right? It's very simple. 2 cars into Q2. Kevin Magnussen, a stinker of a qualifying in Spain, redeems himself by getting into Q2. Nico Hülkenberg also continues his fine qualifying in Spain, where he reached Q3, bangs in another Q2 appearance, but that's going to be it. No Q3 appearance around Canada. I've gotten burned by too much of optimism or copium when it comes with Haas. And so 2 cars into Q2, no more. And I think both cars finish in the top 14, but unfortunately no points finish for Haas this weekend. I'm hoping to see a step forward in Canada, but at this point, the race pace of this car is just not there. So I'm hoping praying it'll be a good weekend for Haas's standards, but maybe not points. And I think that we just need to be okay with that. And then finally, my chat's predictions. They also predict 2 cars into Q2 and 2 top 13 finishes, but also no points. Very similar. I think they specifically predicted hold on, let me get this right. Well, I have it up here on the weekend. They predicted specifically a P11 and P13 finish. Kevin Magnussen, P13, Nico Hülkenberg, P11. Going to be an interesting one. Hope they're right. It'd be fun to see a Haas fighting for points, but unfortunately, neither of us think it's gonna happen in this one. That wraps up my predictions for the 2023 Canadian Grand Prix this weekend. Well, what do you think? What are your predictions? Let me know down in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you don't miss a single upload on the channel. We do a lot of F1 related gaming news, a lot of F1 related real life, these race predictions and recaps. But I'm excited for Canada. It's been a long wait since Spain, and I'm ready to see some on-track action again, and potentially a little rain to mix things up as we go through the weekend. But for now, that's going to wrap it up for me here, and I'll see you guys after the race weekend when we recap the Canadian Grand Prix. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.